Salute BookTube. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. We got part 3 of my Wintery, my Winter 2026 book haul. As I've mentioned in the first two parts, if you're watching this, probably you've watched the first two parts. But basically, this is me getting some revenge from all the booktubers I see who opened their bookish gifts on Christmas and received a whole pile of books. I'm based in the Middle East, in a country called the United Arab Emirates, very much in the heart of the Islamic world. There's no Christmas here. There's no gift giving season. There's no Christmas gift giving season. So I was very jealous of all those booktubers opening their Christmas gifts of books. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go book shopping and I'm going to get myself some books and buy myself a Christmas gift. Or not a Christmas gift, but a whole bunch of Christmas gifts. In fact, so many books that I've had to divide these book haul videos into segments, into parts, and each one is already like 40 minutes. And this one, well, I don't want to go too long for this one. Maybe I can finish it quicker. But if you watch the first two, quick caveat: I didn't buy all these books at one time. Actually, I've been purchasing and acquiring these books for the past couple of months. So this is from November, December, and early January. And as I've mentioned in my other videos, I don't do this for clickbait. I do this because I want to support the local bookshops here in my country, where there's only about 3 or 4. And if I don't support them, they'll go down to 2, 1, or maybe even 0. So I try to go as often as I can, about once a month, and do a bit of book purchasing. If you watch the first two parts, I divided the first part into ancient and Middle Ages sort of books, mostly about the Middle East, and again, mostly, almost exclusively nonfiction history. So if you're not into nonfiction history, this might not be for you, but I did that in part 1. In part 2, I did nonfiction histories of the modern, and I'm pointing to my shelves because that's how I organize these these parts of the book haul. But basically, part 2 was modern Middle East, 20th centuries, 21st century books. Now we're going to go into more Western history, European. This one is European history. And my European history shelf. So people have been commenting about this big bookshelf in the back. This is actually only one half of my library. I've got a whole other exactly identical, symmetrical bookshelf parallel across, but I'm recording on this side so you don't see it. That's where I have my European history. I also have American history, but that'll probably be part 4. And then I'm thinking there might be a part 5 for the other books, which don't fit into any specific category. But yeah, just with that introduction, we'll get to the books. So this is mostly European history, what I've defined as European history. The first book is a good one to sort of segue between the East and the West, although the title might be deceiving. It's by William H. McNeill, and it's called The Rise of the West. But then the subtitle is a history of the human community. What this author argues, William H. McNeill, he goes against. Let me read the back cover. I think it's better than for me to explain. It says, The Rise of the West, winner of the National Book Award for History in 1964, is famous for its ambitious scope and intellectual rigor. In it, McNeill challenges the Spengler-Toynbee view of history, that a number of separate civilizations pursued essentially independent careers, and argues instead that human cultures interacted at every stage of their history. The author suggests that from the Neolithic beginnings of grain agriculture to the present, major social changes in all parts of the world were triggered by new or newly important foreign stimuli, and he presents a persuasive narrative of world history to support this claim. So there's a big movement in historical circles. This is from 1964, so much earlier. This view is much more common now, but there was a view that civilizations, each one were like silos, and they operated independently, and they grew and developed independently. This book, again, revolutionary almost, in the 1960s argued no, that there was a lot of cross-cultural, cross-pollination, cross-cultural interaction, cross-cultural innovation and learning. So rather than just Europe, developing individually, Africa individually, maybe the Islamic world individually, China and East Asia individually, no. What the author argues is that no, there was a lot of cross-cultural um, cross-cultural interactions between the civilizations, and they learned and innovated from each other. Again, now in the 21st century, this is almost accepted, but again, this is from 1964. So at the time, it was a radical concept. So there's that. This one, I've got so many books about this subject. I think it's enough. I should stop getting them because I have too many. It's by Christopher Hibbert. It's the French Revolution. It doesn't get more European than the French Revolution. I think most people know what the French Revolution is or was. Or I think it was Mao Zedong who said the French Revolution is still ongoing. No, I grabbed it just because it's very historical. But I've got a bunch of books on the French Revolution. I probably need to narrow it down someday soon. I only need one or two. I know there's a famous one by a famous British author. His name escapes me. Cole. Anyway, that comes highly recommended. I don't have that one. These are more modern looks at much more recent looks at the French Revolution. This next one I bought solely for the cover. I think it's more of a travel book rather than a history. It's Slow Train to Switzerland. I think this is very famous. It's by Deacon Bewis. Deacon Bewis. What does it say here? 1 tour, 2 trips, 150 years, and a world of change apart. Okay, this author was more famous for his best-selling, or her best-selling, Swiss Watching. What She Saw, a female author. It's just a nice cover. I haven't been to Switzerland. I've been to a lot of Europe, but I haven't been to Switzerland because it's so expensive. But maybe one day. But in the meantime, I'll read this. I just grabbed it because it was cheap and it had a nice cover. Next one is a Pulitzer Prize-winning book. This is Gulag: A History by Anne Applebaum. This just discusses the Gulag, the Russian Gulag, the Soviet Gulag, I think. Yeah, the Gulag, a vast array of Soviet concentration camps that held millions of political and criminal prisons, was a system of repression and punishment that terrorized an entire society, embodying the worst tendencies of Soviet communism. That's just the first part of the back blurb. This book is quite famous, again, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Anne Applebaum is a bit controversial these days. I believe she's of Polish origin. She's Polish-American. But since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, she's taken a very strong stance against Russia, a very pro-Ukrainian stance that the West, Europe, America especially, should be supporting Ukraine against Russia. She took it so far that she went back to Poland, and because of her Polish origin, she reapplied for Polish citizenship because she was eligible. She received Polish citizenship. From what I understand, she still lives in Poland, or she's based in Poland right now, and she's been clamoring for a more muscular response to Russia and Vladimir Putin. So this is the book that I think put her on the map. I think she's got other books, but I was glad to find it. I had seen there's a channel, Jeff Reads History, his booktube channel. He put a book out called Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn, another famous book with Gulag on the title. I thought he was referring to this, but this is a separate book. But anyway. And then just sticking to Russia, this book, I had met somebody who was Russian and who played the piano, and then this was in my head. I don't play the piano, I'm not very musical at all, but I found this, and I thought maybe it'd make a good gift for that person, but I'm going to read it first, I hope, one day. It's The Lost Pianos of Siberia, and it's by Sophie Roberts. And although the author focuses on pianos in Russia, it's really is a... it's a she's a travel writer. I'm just reading the bio really quickly, scanning through it. So it's a travel log, travel work of travel literature through Russia. Um, I think focusing on pianos and focusing on Siberia rather than European Moscow or whatever. But I don't know. I grabbed it because that person I think just met the person a couple of hours before I went to the bookstore and saw this. So it was on the mind. A bit of a crapshoot, but um, yeah, I don't know if I can go and take wild. I need to be more selective in my book buying because space is becoming a premium. Even all this, I'm still running out of space. Next, this one is by a famous historian, more on the neocon. He's been he's more conservative. He's been on the record being quite pro-Trump. It's Niall Ferguson, and this is his book Civilization, The West and the Rest. I've got now a bunch of his books. We'll just read quickly. It says in 1412, Europe was a miserable. I'm reading from the back cover. In 1412, Europe was a miserable backwater, while the Orient was home to dazzling civilizations. So how did the West come to dominate the rest? In this vital, brilliant book, Niall Ferguson reveals the killer applications that did it. Killer applications are in quotation mark. Do we still have these winning tools, he asks, or is another power about to triumph? Again, more conservative, more right-wing. Recently in the news, very pro-Trump. We'll see. This was written way before Trump, I think. Must be from the early 2000s, I want to guess. 2011, okay. And then this one also, I think, a more conservative observer, Kenneth Clark, Civilization. He passed away in 1983. Okay, he focuses on art a lot. I think Kenneth Clark, because it says he was the director of the National Gallery, Slade Professor of Fine Arts at Oxford, and chairman of the Arts Council. His legendary TV series and this seminal book made the history of Western culture widely accessible for the first time. Civilization remains an essential cultural classic. So, again, conservative. We'll give him that title. Conservative art historian who argues that, Western civilization, its art is its biggest claim to brilliance. And then maybe I should do these two books together. Just a second, because this is English British history. Not really my wheelhouse. I don't have much of a stake, but I do have a growing bookshelf of British history. I like British history because it's in the English language, is what I predominantly read in. And then number two, when the English write about themselves, they tend to do a good job. They're the originators of the language, so you would hope they so it's fun reading for me. I find reading history fun. So this one is by Leanda Delis. It's called White King. The subtitle is The Tragedy of Charles I. Again, I need to be more selective. I shouldn't just buy these, but this was really cheap, so I took it. Charles I is the English king who lost his head. Was hanged for being stubborn. The English Civil War, the whole you can see this isn't really my area of expertise, but if I understand correctly, the English Civil War, the fight between the monarchists and the parliamentarians. I grabbed it because it's cheap. If it wasn't cheap, I wouldn't have grabbed it, but I did. And then this one is another example. This is before Charles I. This is Elizabeth, and it's by David Starkey. Also more of a conservative, although a very controversial figure. This one is a signed copy, and then I did check. There is the signature of David Starkey. Okay, it's Elizabeth Apprenticeship. So I think this is about her early Elizabeth. her early reign or her childhood, how she became a great political animal. Watching the court of her father, the fate of her mother, Anne Boleyn, who lost her head, and then the rivalries, and fascinating character, nice hardback. It's signed by the author. It was really cheap. I really need to not buy these books that are a little bit outside of my um, purview, if you will. But again, I grabbed it. Nothing else more to say. This next one, influenced by a friend, Angelina. Her booktube channel is called Books Do Things to Me. She's based in Slovenia, which is very close to this part of the world. They used to be one country: Slovenia, Serbia, Croatia, North Macedonia. Used to be Yugoslavia. It also included Bosnia. And this book is by Ines Karic. And it's, sorry about the glare, it's essays on behalf of Bosnia. And that's basically what it is, essays about Bosnia. For those who don't know, very quickly, Yugoslavia used to be one country, but then they split up. And Yugoslavia split up because it's very ethnically mixed. There is a Serbian Orthodox majority, there's a Catholic minority, and there's an Islamic minority. The Catholics became Croatia and Slovenia, the Muslims became Bosnia, and the Serbs became, or the Orthodox became Serbia. Yeah, so these are essays. Of course, Bosnia was well known. There was a massacre by the Christian Orthodox Serbs against the Bosnian Muslims. This essays, this is from 1999, so right after those tragic events and the tragic breakup of Yugoslavia, where in the communist times they all lived together. But then when, I like to say when Europe and the EU took over, they sort of messed it up. But anyway, we don't want to be controversial on this channel or political. Next book, again, I had a lot of books on this subject. I don't need another one, but it was cheap. It's a nice looking book, so I just grabbed it. It's Simon Barton, A History of Spain. Look at that cover. I've got a bunch of books about Spain. Maybe I can take them out. I have this one, Spain, the history of. I've got, I was sure I saw another one close by. This one I've got, Spain, 1808 to 1975. Lots of books about Spain. I didn't need another one, but again, this one was cheap. I'm trying to find, there was another one that I saw. Where was it? Anyway, I saw this one. I grabbed it. Spain is probably the most fascinating country in Europe for me. It's the country that I've traveled the most to, I think. Oh, the other book about Spain is behind my phone. I can't. No, that's going to be too difficult to take out. But the point I'm trying to make is I have a lot of books about Spain. I didn't need another one, but I ended up getting another one. And like I was saying, I think the country I've traveled to the most is Spain. I never get enough of it. It's a fascinating country. And then this book is a booktube made me do it. I think I forgot where I saw it, but I think I saw one or maybe two booktubers talk about this book. It's David Gran, The Wager. The subtitle is A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder. There it is. On 28 January 1742, a ramshackle vessel of patched together wood and cloth washed up on the coast of Brazil. Inside were 30 emaciated men, barely alive, and they had an extraordinary story to tell. I'll keep it at that. That enough is enough for me. It sounds interesting. Found it really cheap, picked it up. So those are Europe, and then the rest is Europe, but it's focusing more on World War One and especially World War II. There's actually one work of historical fiction, but only one. But let's get into it. We can start here. This is by Richard Overy. It's called The Dictators. The subtitle is Hitler's Germany, Stalin's Russia, and this is huge. Again, Yeah, self-explanatory. Stalin, Hitler, World War II. Um, I just want to. I had others. Yeah, there was another one that's also called. Okay, this one is called Hitler and Churchill. It's by Andrew Roberts. Andrew Roberts is a conservative neocon historian, but he's a good historian. The subtitle here is Secrets of Leadership. So I think he compares the leadership styles of Churchill and Hitler, compares and contrasts the similarities and the differences. But he's a good author, an author that I've enjoyed in the past. So a historian I enjoyed in the past. So when I saw this, I grabbed it. This one is by Enzo Traverso. It's called Fire and Blood. The European Civil War, 1914 to 1945. So from the title or the subtitle, it says the European Civil War. What this treats, it treats World War One and World War Two as one thing, and I think this is more of a European look at it. And I think that's how historians in the future are going to look at that period, as one large war rather than two separate wars. We've been using the World War One and World War Two, or First World War and Second World War. I think in the future historians are just going to lump it up into one. But Enzo Traverso, that sounds, is this translated? Yes, translated by David Fernbach. I believe, from what language was it translated? This English language edition first published in 2016, originally published as... Okay, I think French. That looked like French, translated from the French. And then, speaking of World War II and Hitler, this one is the next book. It's by Conrad Hayden. It's called The Fuhrer. It's a biography of Hitler. Big one too. I've read the biographies of Hitler, so they're always large. It's hard to write a small book about this character. But this specific edition and this author I was reading at the end of 2025, I was reading this book by Michael Burleigh, Sacred Causes, and Burleigh mentioned that this is probably the best biography of Hitler out there. It's got a nice blurb that says the same thing, probably one of the better biographies of Hitler. So when I saw it, I was happy to find it here where I live. I just grabbed it. And then just sticking to the World War II, again, Hitler, Stalin. This one is called The Devil's Alliance, Hitler's Pact with Stalin, 1939 to 1941. It's by Roger Morehouse. It's a little bit destroyed, but I can fix that. World War II, Hitler and Stalin made a pact. The rest is history. I don't need to go on and on about it. I think most of my viewers know about it, but yeah, I think it's called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is the official name. Just World War II history. So I grabbed it. And then this is the work of nonfiction, but it's historical nonfiction. It's by D.J. Taylor, and it's called The Windsor Faction. And this, I think... let me read. It says, in autumn 1939, in parallel world where Edward VIII never abdicated and the Second World War might have taken a very different course. So this is a work of kind of like a what-if historical fiction that Edward VIII, the King of England who renounced the throne to marry his American divorcee wife, Wallis Simpson, abdicated and his brother took over. This book posits that he stays and he never abdicates, and I think he takes a pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi stance, and Britain is under the threat of a Nazi takeover. I think that's what it is. Why I picked this up is because I've been working on a book of my own, a work of historical fiction. It's also World War II historical fiction, but it's historical fiction in the Middle East. It's about the Nazis coming to the Middle East, it is historical fiction. The Nazis were penetrating the Middle East. They could have probably penetrated much more, but Adolf Hitler was not very interested in the Middle East. He was just obsessed with Russia. But anyway, I just wanted to read, to get this and hopefully to read it soon, just to helping me understand, see how other authors build the atmosphere of the 1930s, the 1940s. What's the tone? I believe this is a British author, because my story is about a British spy who goes to the Middle East. Not a spy thriller; it's more of a historical fiction. But the main character is a spy who is sent to the Middle East. So I wanted this more for see how other authors, other fiction authors, treat this subject. And then just three final books. Two of them are about the First World War. Most of those last few books were about World War II. This one, these two are about World War One. This one is by Eric Larson. It's Dead Wake. And the subtitle is The Last Crossing of the Lusitania. The Lusitania was the ship that was sunk, and I believe that it was the sinking of that ship that really mobilized America to enter the First World War. Or at least I don't think that's what caused America to join the First World War, but I think it, maybe it did. At least it settled America would side with the Entente, with the British and the French and the Russians. Here it says let me read it because I'm a little bit foggy on the history. It says on May 1st, 1915, with World War I entering its 10th month, a luxury ocean liner as richly appointed as an English country house sailed out of New York, bound for Liverpool, carrying a record number of children and infants. For months, German U-boats had brought terror to the North Atlantic, but the Lusitania was one of the era's great transatlantic greyhounds, the fastest liner then in service, and her captain, William Thomas Turner, placed tremendous faith in the gentlemanly strictures of warfare that for a century had kept civilian ships safe from attack. The gentlemanly rules of warfare, which, said don't attack innocent civilian ships. Germany, however, was determined to change the rules of the game. As the Lusitania made her way towards Liverpool, an array of forces, both grand and achingly small, hubris, a chance fog, a closely guarded secret, and more, all converged to produce one of the great disasters of history. It goes on, gripping and important, Dead Wake captures the sheer drama and emotional power of a disaster whose intimate details and true meaning have long been obscured by history. That last part, long obscured by history. The Titanic is much more famous, especially recently. We can thank Leonardo DiCaprio for that. Leonardo DiCaprio and Celine Dion, I think, but the Lusitania, I think, at the time as well. So, it says here obscured by history. So, I'm not too aware of it, but this author comes very highly regarded. His other books, very famous, The Garden of the Beast, The Devil in the White City. So looking forward to that one. And then this one is, this is a larger book full of pictures, images. This is the Imperial War Museum Book of the First World War. And it's by Malcolm Brown. It's a very nice, attractive cover. The subtitle is A Great Conflict Recalled in Previously Unpublished Letters, Diaries, and Memoirs. I don't know how interested I am in the letters, diaries, and memoirs. Again, World War One is not exactly, or World War One in Europe, not exactly important to me because I'm based in the Middle East. But it's just very nice. There's a lot of black and white photography, airplanes. There was color photos. I just saw some. Yeah, there is. I think this is a painting. There are colored images as well, mostly paintings, etc. But yeah, and the Imperial War Museum is one place So I went to London. I did a lot of the touristy stuff. A friend had recommended. They said you have to go to the Imperial War Museum. And that it's really impressive. A few people told me, and I've heard it's a really nice museum. But I went there walking. And I walked such a far distance that when I finally reached the museum, I was so exhausted. I said, there's no way I can walk through a museum now. So I was right at the gates, but I never went in. So that's another excuse for me to go to London someday and to actually visit the Imperial War Museum. I heard it's a really nice one. So maybe one day. But until then, this book will keep me. This book will have to do. And then the final book. This is by an author, Tony Jute. It's called The Memory Chalet, and I think it's a memoir of this author, Tony Jute, who's a historian. He wrote a book called Post-War, where he discusses the history of Europe from 1945 till the 70s, 80s. A really good book that I've read. I'm seeing if it's close by and I can grab it, but I'm not seeing it. It's a really good book, just about the culture of Europe after World War II, the politics, the economics, the society, just everything. And I think he got sick and he passed away. He had a rare disease and he passed away. So I think this book, it's a small one. It's his memoirs. I picked this up based on how much I enjoyed his book Post-War. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I can be if I can just pick up whatever I like. I need to be more selective because I'm truly running out of space and I need to start unhauling. I can't keep just purchasing books like this. But that being said, or purchasing books like this, again, as an example, or this, books about British history. I do enjoy reading them, but I'm in a phase where I need to be a bit more selective, definitely. The days of just buying any book that catches my fancy, I think, is past me. But that being said, this is only part 3 of my book haul. I still think I'm probably gonna have about two more parts, most likely. And I think the next part will be more American, although I guess we can say American history. And then there'll probably be a 5th part for everything else, but that's in the future. I'll end this video right now. Wishing you all the best. Happy reading. Salute, BookTube.